the cops on me. On a mission to be champs since they let me free. Prepare for combat, my adversaries crumble. Face it, I got a reputation for damage. Busters get ready to rumble. They lock me in a cell, have me trapped in a living hell. Though not guilty, I'm still in jail. Brother, I serve my time like a soldier. Maintain composure. My shadow boxing the fight to the death, busting boulders. Every boxer with a pair of gloves. Best give up love. Here's a man from the makings of a thug. A lethal weapon, mind sharp. And in my heart, there's a wish to shake the world with the flurry of my black fist. Now once a high school dropout, now I'm the $1 million champ. Who's the next to get knocked out? Straight out of Brooklyn and worldwide. A high school dropout, now I'm the $1 million champ. Who's the next to get knocked out? Straight out of Brooklyn and worldwide.
Yeah, what's going on, guys? Yeah, I wanted to get in a little something here for you guys. No rating reviews this last week, so I don't know, JP hit on it or whatever, however we're going to line this show up. So no unofficial sponsors of this short episode, but I wanted to hit on a quick little rant on this past weekend's action, man. Adrian Broner, I mean, he's back. I mean, it's amazing what he did. I mean, he had the best fight that he's had in like probably 3, 4, 5 years, man. I mean, it's amazing how great he was. Yet it was still only good enough to eke out a draw. It's funny because this fight, all you heard about, well, what's next for Broner? What's next for Broner? Broner was the one who actually looked the worst out of this fight. Now, comparatively, what you thought was going to happen going into this fight, where you thought Jesse Vargas, and most people did, thought he was going to, get a pretty easy victory. He didn't fight as well as people thought, and Broner actually exceeded expectations, which isn't that hard anymore because the expectations are so low. It's funny how everybody just fucking love Broner. Oh, it's great to have him back. Back at what? Back at what? Really? What is he back at? Back at mediocre levels? Good for him. He did better than I thought. I'll take that L, I guess. I guess it's not really an L. I got to draw out of it too, right? The fact is, I scored this fight a draw. 5-1 in the first half for Vargas, 5-1 for Broner in the second half. Yet, just watching it from the outside, if you didn't score it, you probably would edge Vargas, and I think that's what most people had. They edged Vargas. Look, Broner does just enough to fucking look like he's got heart. And this one, he actually showed a lot more heart. He actually stepped on the gas later on in the fight. So, kudos to him. Good for him. He exceeded expectations. Unfortunately, it was only good enough to get a draw. And let's be honest, Jesse Vargas looked like he ran out of gas. So did the 144 actually come back to hurt him? It's possible. How come nobody really talked about that? That he had to come down in weight, and then he started to, now, was it his pace? Yeah, maybe. But did you think that the pace and the fact that he had to cut a few extra pounds down, play into it? Yeah, it's very possible that that's exactly what happened. But oh well, it is what it is. Who knows what's next for each of them? Honestly, probably it should be a rematch. Honestly, is really what it should be. They have options, but I mean, really, let's go through the top four of the junior welterweight, super lightweight, whatever the hell you want to call it, the 140-pound division. Let's go. The top four guys are fighting in a little mini tournament. Okay, you got the WBC is ordering the fight, Regis Prograis versus Jose Ramirez. Will there be an interim fight? Maybe. But those two will square off for the title. And then you have Josh Taylor versus Victor Postal going for a final eliminator for that belt, becoming the mandatory. So you basically got those four guys. Now Broner cannot beat any of those guys. I just don't think he can. So he's still at best a lower half of the top 10 at 140. 147, he's still not a top 10 guy. Now I know that shoots into what I said at going into the show, that Jesse Vargas was a top 10 guy and he just drew with the top 10 guys. So I guess by that you would say he's a top 10 guy. Like I said, if it was a full 147, then I would actually have to eat my words. Because it wasn't, I can actually hang on to that to kind of hang on to some of my argument. But even if you thought he was one of those guys, what is he, 10? And you can't still put him above Vargas. So, I mean, he's that guy. That's where he's at in his career. And he's in the perfect spot. You know who I want to see him? I want to see him go to 147. I want to see him to fight Brandon Rios. These motherfuckers have hated each other for long enough. They're both diminished. I mean, Broner looked better this fight. So I would probably, I'd probably edge him. But, I think it's still a good matchup. I mean, this is where he's at now in his career. Vargas, the same thing. I mean, Granado's fight, that's a good fight. Nobody thinks Granado's is a top 10 welterweight, but even the second tier welterweights, Porter and Garcia and guys like that, and even a Jeff Horn. I mean, they beat these guys, man. I'm sorry. That's just where they're at. Hey, Jamal Charlo's devastating knockout of Hugo Centeno. Expected, but still impressive. And that's what you're supposed to do when you get in with a guy like that. If you're a guy like Jamal Charlo, that's exactly what you're supposed to do. And what he's doing is building some excitement for a possible opponent for Triple G. I mean, he's going to be the mandatory. Now, let's be honest. If he's the mandatory and Triple G beats Canelo, trust me, they're going to do whatever they can. If Triple G then has to go back and fight Derevyanchenko to secure that IBF title, you never know. You never know that bitterness that the WBC will hold against Golovkin for not playing nice with their favorite adopted son Canelo, that they could fucking strip him, and then Charlo fight. It gets elevated from interim champion or whatever the hell that secondary belt was that he got. And no, you're not. No, as much as I like Jamal Charlo, you're not a two-time champion. It's an interim belt. It's not a real belt. The champion is Gennady Golovkin. It's just how it goes. And I'm a Charlo guy. But he did what he's supposed to do. Makes it. It makes that fight more intriguing. I mean, people are a lot of people now are much more interested in Charlo versus Golovkin than they are Golovkin versus Canelo too. That's how impressive Charlo has been, and he's a guy who's been in VADA now for a little while, who's passing his tests. No tainted meat here in Houston, so we're okay. So we'll see what's next for him. Probably not much. Just stay busy, fight. No, pretty much what this was, even though somehow it was for an interim title. I don't know how Centeno got an interim title. You know that guy that Danny Jacobs is fighting, Sulecki? Who people were like, fucking Sulecki, come on. He beat Hugo Centeno. So that kind of tells you where Centeno really is. I don't care what the ratings say. WBC standings. Gervonta Davis looked good. Looked real good. Came in underweight. Hey, look what happened. You did your fucking job. I don't know. I guess you wanted to be patted on the back for it, but hey, that's your job. You did your job. Good for you. You made weight just like you're supposed to do. And then look, you came in shape, ready to go, and you were very impressive. Got that quick stoppage of Jesus Cuellar. Man, he's a monster at 130 when he's right. Give me a fight against Miguel Berchelt. I'd love to see that fight. I know the Tevin Farmer thing's probably going to work its way there, but man, give me a fucking Berchelt fight. Well, you heard me talk already. HBO. Danny Jacobs is going to stop. I don't know if he's going to stop him, but he's going to beat Sulecki. Sulecki's decent. He's decent. He's went between 60 and 54. Has wins over Centeno and win over Jack Coquet, the same guy that Boo Boo Andre beat at 154. So, I mean, he's serviceable for a stay busy fight. And this is pretty much what this is for Danny Jacobs. And then you got Jarrell, Big Baby Miller, who really disinterests me more and more every time I see him. I mean, the interest level in him goes down every time I see this guy fight. Fighting Johan Duapas. Whatever. It is what it is. I'm so fucking disinterested in Jarrell Miller. His talk is so much better than his fighting. That's pretty much this weekend. Oh no, you know who the hell was fighting? Josecito Lopez is fucking headlining a PBC on, I think it's Fox. And I put that poll up today, man, just kind of having fun. Like, who has worse fucking televised cards anymore? Is it HBO Boxing or any PBC show on network TV? Because if it's on network TV, you get shit. And if it's on HBO, it's pretty much shit. Besides Superfly cards, it's fucking shit. That's how you get Dillian White versus... Who was that last one? Oh yeah, Lucas Brown. Yeah, that's how you get fights like that. So, I mean, really, it's kind of a dead week. Me and Paulie were going back and forth about the Manny things. Like, Jesus Christ, let that fucking shit go. Or if you're going to dish out this guy's on steroids because of this reason and this reason, well, then you got to spread the wealth, you know? His big thing was, well, Manny was a champion at 21, and when he was 38, he was still a champion and a pound-for-pound guy. So, obviously, he was on steroids. And then I pointed out, well, you know, Floyd was a champion at 21 and still a champion at 38 and was number one pound for pound, so you would actually have to spread that around. Bernard Hopkins was a top light heavyweight in the world at like 46, 47. So, you know, you got to spread that shit around, you know, and just be consistent when you're going to, and that's always been our point. If you're going to talk shit, or if you're going to do shows like this, or if you're going to put your opinion out there, just be consistent. Don't sound like he'll have the nerve to call somebody a fanboy when he's a fanboy in the opposite direction. He's like he's like well, you know, people would say he's a hater, but like he's obsessed though. It's like it's to a level of obsession that is just. It's pathetic, and that's like we say. Just be consistent with your shit, man. I don't know if you guys saw any of that. Paulie would not. He was blowing my phone all night, man. That damn Twitter shit was going off. I just fucking turned that shit off and ignored it. All right, man. I don't know what JP's doing with this. If he's put it in the front or back. But if he didn't, I'll talk to you guys next week. Another show. Peace. I'm out, guys.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, let's get this. We got to add the 2 cents into this pot, right? So, I got to talk about the Broner fight first. Broner and Vargas. Honestly, I think Broner fought his way into a draw. That's what I think. As far as fight is concerned, when he doesn't let his hands go, he's not a good fighter. When he does let his hands go, he is a good fighter. And that's pretty much his issue in the ring. The antics the antics are too much. I will say that the antics are way too much. I don't know what to say. Like, I don't know if middle of the road or he's just too focused on everything else because his skin is too thin and he acts too ignorant or whatever. But in the ring, he's not a great fighter. In the ring, he's not a great fighter. He has great spurts. Has heart. Definitely does have heart as a fighter. Guy, I will not take that away from him. But sometimes it looks as though he's been so accustomed to being bigger and stronger than other people that he feels like he could punish them and walk them down, and he doesn't realize that, 40 and 47, most of those people are just his size, and he's not. He doesn't wear down people like he did at lower weight classes with that. So he's got to let his hands go, but it seems like he's stuck on autopilot, feeling what would won him partially with one of those 4 titles was going to continue to keep him at a top level in the present and in the future, and that's not the case. With Vargas, he basically gave Broner a draw. Broner took a draw because he jumped out fast and then he finished bad. You really can't. I can't knock Vargas in a sense because, for one, he took a fight on short notice, and he had to lose extra weight to do it. So you can say that either Broner realized that he was losing and he fought his way back, or you could say that Vargas gassed out because of the weight loss. It really doesn't matter because it's 144 per se. So you give them both credit for fighting, because the one part I will put into this is this wouldn't have happened if Figueroa didn't do what he did. So in this scenario, it does. I can't, that weight stuff, I don't like the fluctuation of weight, but this one has a caveat per se. You know what I'm saying? But it is what it is, because the 40 to 47, so meet in the middle kind of thing. I get it. Because I think Broner was going to fight Figueroa at 40. It's been a minute, but I believe that's what it was. So I give, I understand that. Now, fast forwarding, because we had Charlo with a great performance. I mean, congratulations. I guess he's got an interim title. It's kind of like him and Triple G maybe on path, like Angelo was talking about. Kind of the same situation that Triple G had with Danny Jacobs when Danny had the interim and Triple G had the real title. So it's kind of one of those situations where, Charlo deserves a shot. Now, you can't say he doesn't, because he's been winning and winning in spectacular fashion. When the people say they expect him to be spectacular, he's delivering on that. And that's what boxing fans want to see. Like, it's not necessarily you got to be a knockout artist, but when they know you're coming and and they know you're showing up, they're paying to see their money's worth and to see you do what you do. And both Charlo brothers, they show up, as expected and exceed expectations at times. So definitely has earned his shot, and hopefully he'll get it later on in this year. And congratulations. Now, Tank won in impressive fashion also. I mean, like when that young man makes weight and he's focused, he is one of, like, him and the Charlo twins, and I would say Prograis and Mikey, Bud, Lomachenko, like, they're some of the most exciting fighters to watch at the present moment in boxing. Who did I miss? Deontay Wilder, like, in Anthony Joshua, like some of the most exciting fighters to watch. Like, they can keep your attention glued on the screen. And, so congratulations, but, not going to take anything away from him, but you got to stay on weight from this point on. Like, you really got to make weight. Like, that's a thing that me and Angelo have been talking about for years. We don't understand how fighters aren't doing their job as far as making weight. That doesn't make sense to us. That's your job. That's how you make a living. And, I've said this before and I'll say it again. You're in a business where people can die. So when you're not taking your weight serious, you're not taking your preparation serious, and it can cost you your life. So I'm not a fan of that whatsoever. Okay? Catch weights, I get. But when it's you and your weight class, nah, I don't get that. And the other thing, because I see him and Broner have this issue with TMT, I don't see the issue, fellas. I'm just be honest with y'all. I don't see the issue, because Tank got another title shot and won another title. Floyd told him what he was going to do. He did it. He told him he was going to have him fighting for a title by a certain time. He did it. He won a title. He lost it on his own, on the scales, and he got him another shot to get another title. He got another title. Not to say that Tank didn't put in the work, because Tank's the one in the ring. I absolutely get that. He's the one that's been phenomenal for and worked his way up the ranks. I absolutely get that. And the same thing with Broner. Like, Broner, like, can't nobody help you, bro. Like, nobody can help you because you're too erratic. Like, you got to remember, one day you're saying F everybody, the next day you're crying out and want, love and attention, and that doesn't go together. and especially from Floyd, and you're not even a fighter with Floyd, to be perfectly honest. So, when you're suicidal one day, Floyd has your back. Then you get mad, you F him. Like, you got to pick a side and stay there. Real talk. Is what it is. Moving on. Khan just went right through Lo Greco. Just over. Like, this was a weekend of quick knockouts. So in some ways, Khan is back in the mix on the map. I don't know how people are going to take the fight. The victory is very exciting because, first round knockouts, just knockouts in general in boxing are great. And it made people raise their eye. Oh, Khan's back, baby. Khan, you better watch out for Khan. I mean, you can't take that away from him. He got him. He got in there. He got out of there. And Lo Greco, you talked a lot, but you didn't back it up. That's one thing. You talked it, but Khan actually walked it. So you got to tip your hat off to Khan. Like, he finished that conversation for sure. This weekend, Jacob Sulecki and Miller Duhaupas. The Jacob Sulecki fight, interesting because Sulecki's undefeated. But I don't think he's necessarily in Danny's class. So, good name to have. They say, it's not necessarily a stay busy fight because it's still a dangerous fight because you're fighting an undefeated fighter. So, but it keeps you in that mix. Like, he wins, him, Charlo, Triple G, they got to make something happen. You get what I'm saying? They got to make something happen somewhere along the line. That'll be great. That'll definitely be great. Miller and Duhaupas. I guess this is like a ladder fight. He's going, okay, he stepped it up a notch per se. Do I expect him to run through him? Yeah. Does he talk a lot and talk good trash? Yeah. But I don't know why he has a high knockout percentage, but when you think of Big Baby at this point, you don't think of him as dangerous or a top heavyweight. When you think of Big Baby, he's right now in that Dillian White kind of mix. He didn't get to even Parker's level yet, so he's still working his way up. That's why I say it's like a ladder fight. He's stepping his way up. So hopefully he goes there and he handles his business, but he has to do it spectacularly because basically in the heavyweight division, if you ain't knocking people out, nobody wants to hear it, pretty much. So I can't wait to see what's up. I'll tune into both of them. I forgot the Tete fight. Tete just basically washed old boy. He just washed him like 12 rounds to nothing. Like, it was just pretty much an ass kicking, and he outclassed him. That's pretty much what that was. Alani Tete was just in another league. Now, here's news concern. Wilder sent Joshua, I guess, an email. They're going to see if they're going to get this fight started. I saw Hearn talking about, he was going to, hopefully they can fight by the end of this year. Sometime 2018, they got to get it done. And that's good news to me, even though in boxing people say a lot of things and then they backdoor and don't mean any of it. But I'll take that as that's a good thing to hear. So I want to see what's going on. I want them to hurry up and make that fight. I really do. I saw Chris Algieri talking about the tainted meat thing with Canelo. And I got to say, Chris Algieri was right. Like, when you're fighting and you got big money on the table, you know exactly what you're putting into your body because you don't want to mess up your money. So it's always a suspicious thing. That's the Canelo thing going on right now. But it is because of the suspension. And I had to bring up the suspension because of the title part of it. Because, so it's got to be something that goes on with that. And that's basically a segue, because I forgot to say this earlier, about Thurman vacating the title, and then Angel coming out saying he got stripped because, he can't actually defend it right now because of the injuries or whatever. So it might be actually Porter Garcia for the WBC in this upcoming fight, because that was supposed to be a title eliminator, so now it's probably a title fight. That puts a lot on the table. I mean, that's going to be a very, very interesting fight now, because truth be told, and 50-50 fight could be ugly, could be spectacular. You don't know, but it's a good 50-50 fight. Like, both of them fought Thurman. They both lost close fights. So this is probably going to be a battle. Like, somebody's going to barely eke out to become the WBC champion. And I would say that person probably fights Spence right afterwards for a unification fight, or Bud. So it's going to be interesting. Like, I really did like what I saw right then and there. Now, I'm going to get to this as a caveat. Here's a problem. And I had to go back to the Broner thing about the interview afterwards, because I know Angelo was offended. One of the guys I know on Facebook, he said he was at the fight, and he was like, the crowd pretty much was black, and we was in a black section, and they was booing him because he wasn't throwing his hands. And there he goes, offending people again. I'm not going to play devil's advocate, but and I talked to one of my coworkers, one of our mutual coworkers, about this. I said, I don't like Broner's antics. I don't like it. I don't like his ignorance is going too far, because he's too old for this at this particular point. It's not to sell a fight. It's not to do anything but just act a fool. And people are tired of the shenanigans, because he doesn't necessarily walk it how he talks it. But I was talking to my coworker. I said, one of the problems is he gets on. You're not supposed to get on a mic and be a jerk like that, because you getting a microphone in your, the mic is a bigger platform than the people in the crowd, for one, right? So be respectful, not just to your, be respectful to yourself and for your family first and foremost, so you don't make a fool of them. But then be respectful to your opponent, because he wasn't really respectful to Vargas either. And then be respectful to your fans and followers, and he wasn't respectful to them either. You get what I'm saying? And that's where he goes too far, because when the camera's in your face and the mic's in your hand, you have what you say and do is going to be magnified 100-fold. And that's just what it is. Now, the flip side of that coin, and I've talked about this before, was, I get you're not supposed to disrespect people. I really do. But a fighter like himself who doesn't have thin skin, he's been in those situations where, and us as black people, we know, like, if we go to a fight or an event that we're the minority in, all the racial slurs come out, and everybody's like, that's just how it's going to go. You got to deal with it. If you're going to come around us, we're going to disrespect you and talk crazy to you. And if you want to get in a fight with us, we're going to call the cops and get your drug out, and we're going to have a standing ovation about it. That's pretty much everybody's on code like that with us when it comes to stuff like that. So I'm saying, on the other side of the coin, those guys are Broner's just like an extreme disrespectful. I will say other guys are not going to be as disrespectful, but they're not going to care as much either because of that. You know what I'm saying? But they're not going to, I doubt they're going to be on camera and on the microphone acting a fool like that. Absolutely not. Because that's just out of line and out of pocket. It is what it is. You can't, ain't no sugarcoating that. You know, but I will say, you know, and plus people are always on Twitter and Instagram and this and that. And boxing, we talked about that before. Boxing is a freaking race war, basically. So, you know, all the disrespect that's doled out, I think everybody is just about to get it back in one shape, form, or fashion from everybody. And I don't mean that just from black to Hispanic. I just mean in general, because we see it happen, you know, Filipinos and Hispanics and white and whatever, you know, Puerto Ricans and Mexicans. We've talked about this a lot already. But, you know, but I will say this. It still has no place on camera and on these microphones. Like, people got to chill that out. You know, that's what other people will do that people like Broner don't do. They'll keep the disrespect behind closed doors or with a whisper or in the crowd and not necessarily with the microphone or the camera on them. They won't just get all, you know, 1080p 4K definition and just be out of there acting a fool. Yeah, you know, you got to be classier than that. You can't do that. You know, it's not just about respecting. It's just about respecting fans in general. And you don't know whose family's watching, whose kids are watching. You know, if your kids are watching, there's a certain amount of decorum that goes even in a fight game. You know. And that's just my 2 cents about that, because I'm seeing too many fighters act too ignorant on camera, and I know they're going to regret this, but it's going to be too late. Like, all this blowing up, it's not necessary. You know, you can blow up from time to time, but every time somebody sees you as some emotional tirade, no, you got to grow up. You know, you gotta get your emotions in check. And I know sometimes you just can't do it. Like, Tank got mad at I want to say Fight Hype. I was watching that online, and he didn't want to ask his questions. He just looked at him and walked off. Obviously, he's upset at him about something, but he didn't lose it and just create a event that's unnecessary. So, you know, and we talked about the Charlos telling, you know, Broner to chill out at one of these Showtime PBC events when they were doing a card rollout. You know, and even though the Charlos, they be out of line too. Like, they be out of line too. But they back their stuff up, so people, they get a pass for that. Like them and Billy Joe Saunders, they talk it and they walk it, so you can't really say too much to them. So it is what it is. We had to do a split sparring session today, ladies and gentlemen, because of how the day was set up. So we're sorry about that. We're going to get it back together on you, but we're going to keep it moving, though. We're going to keep it moving. So this is where the fighters fight and the fans commentate. And we do it just like that from the cheap seats, because we ain't buying no tickets, goddammit. Peace.
Please believe that I'll never be shamed again. Again, I'll be the next heavyweight champion. Call me crazy, but no one can fake me. I'm the product of the pie.